Hi everyone, welcome to the video. It is back, lads. My top 3 picks for this week. These aren't the best cars in B-Class, but they're fun cars to use, and the cars that I have been tuning and been using throughout this week. I know it's a bit late, do apologise on that, but with it being New Year's and things like that, got a bit tied up. But we go again. 2021 Volkswagen Golf R. Strange car, I know, but I've been using it. It's actually quite nice, So hopping into upgrade and tune, we've got, let's go from right to left. We've got the legendary engine, the 3.7 litre V6, the best engine for B-Class. Kept it all-wheel drive and naturally aspirated, no turbochargers are installed. Right, moving over to aero and appearance, the wing is on race and the front bumper is on race. Rear bumper, hood and side skirts are stock. Drivetrain, we've got a stock clutch, a race transmission, street driveline, and a race differential. Wheels, I've gone for these Tenzo R RS5s. Stick these on and then just pick another set of wheels that are similar in weight. There's no rim sizes to report. Tyre compound, they're raised. The front tyre width is max 255mm and the rear is at 255mm, more just to get as much grip out of it as possible. Brakes, race springs and dampers, race front anti-roll bars and rear anti-roll bars, a sports weight reduction, race chassis roll cage, and a medium ballast just to drop that PI to get it into B-Class. Engine, everything is completely stock, and it's the same story here, fuel and air, all completely stock. So with the parts installed, let's get into the tuning element. For the tune, the tyre pressures, they're at 33.5 psi front and 32 psi on the rear. It's a heavy car, so it needs higher tyre pressures. Gearing, 610 final drive, and then these are the ratios for each individual gears. Feel free to screenshot it or pause the video. Alignment, -1.6 front, -1.7 on the rear. 0.0 front and rear toe, and a 7 degree of caster. Anti-roll bars, we needed rear rotation, so to do that I've opted for a soft front anti-roll bar to give that front end more grip. 8.5 on the front and 29.3 on the rear. Again, it just aids with getting that back end to rotate round. Springs, I've gone for 649.9 pounds on the front and 550.4 on the rear. This ratio here is just going to aid in that high speed, applying the brakes and stopping that rear end wanting to overtake the front, which is hereditary in front wheel and all-wheel drive cars. The ride height, 6.9 inches front and 6.9 inches on the rear. Damping, the front bump is 5.4 and the rear is 5.1. The rebound on the front is 8.5 and the rebound for rear is 8.0. The reason for this, it's a very big, bulky, heavy car. It will transfer a lot of weight. It just helps stabilize that car. So the suspension geometry, the roll center front is 4.3 and the rear is 3.9. Again, just helps with that stability at higher speeds. The anti-dive's at 59.0 and the anti-squat is at 40.4. Again, helps with the dive of the car, stops it diving as much, and the anti-squat, it'll just help again with that rotation, making the rear end feel stiffer on corner exit. Downforce, we've gone for max downforce, 100 and 200. Brake balance, 53% on the front and 150 on the rear. Kind of strange, I know. On differential, because this is all-wheel drive, we have much more to adjust. So we've got the acceleration on 100% and the deceleration on 20 for the front. For the rear axle, we've got 100% acceleration and 20% deceleration again. And the balance of the torque distribution is more towards the rear at 85%. Again, it will just give more power to the rear wheels to aid in the corner rotation. So that's the build for the Golf R. Now let's hop on to the next build. And the next build is right next to it. This is the Ferrari Dino 246 GT. So hopping into performance, let's start from right to left. So conversions, we've got the 3.7 litre V6. We've got the stock drivetrain and a stock aspiration conversion, so it's still naturally aspirated. We've got the front bumper on race and the rear wing on race, and we do remove the rear bumper. On drivetrain, we've got no clutch, but we do have a race transmission, street driveline, and a race differential. Wheels, we've gone for stock rim size front and rear, And we do have the Speedline F1s, which I believe are the lightest wheels in the game. Tyre compound, we've got the race compound installed with a 245mm front tyre, and the rear is at 275mm. Going to platform and handling, we've got race brakes, race spring and dampers, front and rear race anti-roll bars, a race weight reduction, stock roll cage, and a medium ballast. Just gives it that extra bit of weight to drop it into B class. Engine, everything is completely stock. And on fuel and air, again, is the same story. Everything is stock. So let's go into tuning and let's see what's underneath all that metal. So tyre pressures, we've got 25 psi front, 27 psi on the rear. Gearing, this is my final drive here, 610, and these are the ratios. Feel free to screenshot or pause the video. Alignment, we've got -1.8 and -1.4. Toe, we've got 0 and 0 front and rear. And for the front caster, we've got an angle of 7 degrees. Anti-roll bars, I've just gone for sheer attack with this build. 1 on the front and 40 on the rear. Just gives it that rotation we need. Springs, we've got 675.3 on the front and 500.4 on the rear. Old cars are a bit annoying in the way that they're so wishy-washy and there's a lot of body roll. No matter how stiff you make the car will turn and slide. This will sort of help out-tune that, but it still will be evident, but it will make it a lot easier to control. Ride height, we've just knocked her up a few, 4.7 and 5.8, just to ensure there's no bottoming out, but feel free to lower these if you want. Bump damping, we've got 3.9 front, 3.5 on the rear, with the rebound at 11.4 front and 10.2 on the rear. Suspension geometry, we've got 9.8 on the front and 8.7 on the rear. 50.4 anti-dive on the front and -20.1% anti-squat. Maxed out downforce, so 100 pounds front and 200 pounds on the rear. Braking force and pressure, these are just all up to you. 50 and 150 is what I've set it at. And for the differential, 34% on the acceleration, and the deceleration is at 0. Works really well for me. Gives it that attack that you need to enter the corner without making it too unstable. And moving on to the last and final car, we've got the 1998 Eagle Talon TSI Turbo. This car is, it's decent, you know. I actually really enjoy using this car, and it does look really, really funky. So start with conversions. We've got the engine swap again of the 3.7 litre V6, and we have converted the drivetrain to rear wheel drive. Still naturally aspirated, so that is stock. Aero and appearance, we've got a race rear wing, a race front bumper, a stock rear bumper, hood and side skirts, all on stock. Drivetrain, we've got a stock clutch, a race transmission, stock driveline, and a race differential. Rim size on the front, we've got 19-inch, and we've got 18-inch on the rear, with the lightest wheels, which is the Speedline F1s. So the lightest wheels, and we've got 19-inch on the front and 18-inch on the rear. On the tyres, we've got a race tyre compound with a 255mm front tyre width and a 255mm rear tyre width. Platform and handling, we've got race brakes installed, race springs and dampers, race front and rear anti-roll bars, a sports weight reduction, no roll cage and no ballast. Engine is all completely stock, and in fuel and air we have one part installed, which is the street fuel system. Everything else is stock. So going into the tune, let's hop into there. Now we've got a 29 psi front and a 29 psi on the rear. This is the gearing I've opted for. 610 final drive, and these are the ratios. Feel free to pause the video or screenshot. Alignment, we've got -1.4 on the front and -1.2 on the rear. 0.0 toe and a 7 degree of caster. Roll bars, we've gone for 21.74 on the front, 22.59 on the rear. Spring stiffness, we've got 689.3 on the front, 747.9 on the rear. The ride height is slammed at 5.2 inches front and rear. Going to damping, on the bump, we've got 3.6 front and 3.6 rear, and a 10 rebound on the front and a 10 rebound on the rear. Very balanced damping system indeed. Roll center, we've got 9.8 on the front and 9.4 on the rear. Anti-dives quite low at 13.1%, and the anti-squat is at minus 4.8. Moving to aero, we've got maxed out front aero and maxed out rear, so 100 pounds front and 200 pounds on the rear. Braking balance 50, pressure is at 150. Feel free to change these if you want. And the acceleration is at 20% and the deceleration is at 0. Well, lads, that's going to be the end of the video. Can't wait for Wednesday to see what next classes that we've got. But as always, take care of yourselves and stay tuned for more.